Hi everybody. Happy Friday. My name is Garrett Hartle. This is Out Reptiles. And I was just checking out one of my favorite groups on Facebook is Positive Pythons. If you guys aren't on that channel, you might want to check it out. And there's a bit of a war of opinions going on right now that started with which species of python is really the best. So I thought I would pop in and give you 5 reasons why your opinions are invalid if you think anything other than Superdwarf reticulated pythons are the best. Well, I want to thank you guys for tuning in, especially if you're new to the channel. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you like this kind of video style. I have over 80 videos now, all about specific reptile industry stuff with an obvious, huge bias towards dwarf and superdwarf pythons, which is what we're going to talk about right now. The wild type reticulated python is extremely variable, mostly due to its ginormous range. Yes, I said ginormous, and this is a scientific video to prove you wrong if you think anything other than a superdwarf is best. So because of this ginormous range, they've adapted to all kinds of different habitats, and so we see a tremendous amount of variety. And that wild type reticulated python is an absolutely gorgeous snake with all kinds of different color and pattern elements clashing together. So when you build on that variable palette with morphs and selective breeding, it's just endless. So retics are considered by many, pretty much everyone, but not everyone will admit it, but considered by many kind of the ultimate animal to own one day, but they're put off maybe by the size. And so that's where superdwarfs come in for a lot of people. Well, let's just go ahead and start right there. Reason number 1 that superdwarfs are best is because of the size. Now, you can get anything from a superdwarf in size from basically like a large rat snake or a big corn snake all the way up to mainland reticulated pythons, depending on the bloodlines and the breedings that you've done. There's another video that we've done called How Big Will My Superdwarf Get? That explains exactly that. So because you can either go for like the pure locality superdwarfs, or you can go for crosses of all different types to get some of these morphs in there, you can get a superdwarf that is, 6 feet. You can get one that's 8 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet. This is all provided by the different localities that are in the dwarf and superdwarf range. I mean, if you're able to keep a snake, there is a retic that will fit the size that you are after. You consider something like the Burmese python. You don't have a lot of variety in size unless you're looking at snakes that are still growing and maturing. And yes, they do have a dwarf Burmese subspecies, but at this point it really hasn't been developed all that well in captivity. Maybe something for the future. Now, talking about localities, that's reason number 2 that I love superdwarf. Take ball pythons for example. There's no locality data on ball pythons, and if there was, nobody would care. You hear about these sub-Saharan ball pythons and stuff, but immediately what people do is they just take them and breed them into other stuff so that they can, try to beef up their egg count. Really, their production is what people are going for. But with dwarf and superdwarf retics, you have a number of different localities. And within all of those different dwarf islands is just a tremendous amount of variety from one locality to the next. Each can be known for its own sort of thing. So that's really fun. And something like a ball python really just can't compare. Okay, reason number 3, we mentioned ball pythons. Now, where ball pythons excel is in their morphs. But in retics, you have a lot of variety from these different morphs as well. There's not quite as many morphs as there are in ball pythons, but the locality side more than makes up for that. And in my opinion, which this video is all about, remember, the morphs that are in the reticulated pythons are much more beautiful. Now, some people were saying, you guys are all complaining about mainstream species. Let's talk about some of these really cool, underappreciated animals, like a Papuan python. Papuan pythons are very cool in the fact that, like, they act like an octopus that's always trying to eat you. Once they have it in your head that they are going to eat you, they won't stop until they succeed. I know this from personal experience. Not that I've ever been eaten by a Papuan python. But anyway, I digress. The thing about Papuan pythons is, and there's no other way around it, they're ugly. They're just ugly. I'm sorry, I like them too. Kind of like some of you like me, well, anyways, let's move on. Okay, reason number 4 is going to be the ease of keeping a Superdwarf reticulated python. Because of the smaller sizes that a Superdwarf offers, there's a lot of just readily available products on the market for you to keep these animals in. Beyond that, if you wanted to make like a big naturalistic custom enclosure, they're the perfect animal for that. They're not shy, they're super curious, they'll actually use all of that enclosure. But some people are throwing out there, hey, these big snakes were fighting between Burmese and Retics. What about green anacondas? Green anacondas are the best of all time. Well, yes, maybe if I had to go see one species in the wild, it would be something like a green anaconda. But can you imagine what it would be like having a collection of green anacondas? I mean, oh my gosh, it would be like 10 full-time jobs on top of each other to feed them, keep them clean, keep them happy. I mean, even just pulling a green anaconda out to clean its cage when it's become this 100+ pound adult is backbreaking. So a lot of people, for the size and food requirements, finding that food, it's just not feasible. So I'm sorry, green anaconda lovers, you're out. And reason number 5 is the market. Superdwarf reticulated pythons, they're just set to be the ultimate investment level animal because of where the market is at with them. Now take for example, let's say a boa constrictor. Boas have lots of nice morphs, they're easy to keep, they have a range of sizes, and a lot of things that are similar to Superdwarf reticulated pythons, but the market just isn't there. Now in the 90s, boas were hot stuff when the albinos and anneries, and I remember when Pete Call came out with the first snow, I'm looking at that thing going, oh, I just want to lick the magazine that this thing is in, it's so beautiful. There's a ton of people breeding boas, and so it just keeps all kind of the prices down fairly low, and you'll get this, you know, flash bang of a new morph that hits and it's exciting and everybody's into it. It gets a few people going again. And let's be honest, boas are amazing animals to keep. They're great. But the market just isn't there. I would have to fight a lot harder to move all my babies if I was breeding boas instead of Superdwarfs. There's not a lot of people breeding them. They're kind of self-regulating. They reproduce a lot slower than the mainland retics do. And so there's fewer people that are willing to put in the time and the effort to get good breeding stock and do it correctly to actually be producing small, morph reticulated pythons. But there's a ton of people that are out there wishing they could have a reticulated python just as a pet, and you know, the dwarf and superdwarf retics are enabling them to get into that. So there's so many more people buying them up that they just sell really well. And while I have you guys here, let me just give you a freebie, okay? Here's a bonus reason why superdwarfs are the best. And this might be the most opinionated statement in this entire video, but it's because of their rarity. A lot of people are saying, well, what are you talking about? I see them all the time. Yeah, okay, I get that people post a lot of pictures and things online. There's groups dedicated to these things. You might have seen a few morphs and stuff. Don't be misled by the fact that people are excited about them and posting about them all the time, that they're readily available. And most of the time when people are buying these things from me, they have to call me or get a hold of me personally to work with me as their breeder, getting on a waiting list for the type of animal they want to ensure that they're getting a top quality animal. And another factor that lends itself to feeling like Superdwarfs are more common than they really are is simple misrepresentation. Either misrepresentation, like it is a Superdwarf, but it's not the morph people said it was. It is the morph people said it was, but it's not the Superdwarf cross that people said it was. You could also get the fact where maybe it is a 50% Superdwarf, but it's been bred in a way that prioritizes morphs over small size. And so you get these unpredictable animals. It's amazing to me just how much I hear from you guys reaching back to me like, oh, I saw your videos, I'm into Superdwarfs, it's really cool. I found a super cheap one at a local reptile show, only to find out it was completely misrepresented. They didn't know anything about the animal, and now I have this question mark of a retic. Is it going to end up being some giant mainland? Is it going to stay small? And they start to get this pressure to like underfeed the thing to try to keep it small and force that animal to work for them rather than relying on good bloodlines and genetics. Well, that's it, guys. Now you know. I mean, straight from the horse's mouth. Superdwarfs are absolutely the best. You guys have a great weekend. We'll catch you next week.